RunDNA has an extensive range of running and walking footwear. They're trusted by podiatrists and physiotherapists. The RunDNA fitter's advice is second to none. Pop into RunDNA, 20 Manton Street, Hindmarsh, or 391 Fullarton Road, Fullarton. They're open 7 days, plenty of off-street parking. If you walk or run, you need to run DNA.
Welcome to Hooked on Sport. This is South Australia's weekly sports wrap, where we uncover the stories, personalities and moments that define sport across South Australia. It's time for Hooked on Sport with two-time Bradman medalist Ben Hook and state golf representative Sophie Hilditch.
Thanks, Wallace. G'day, Soph. Soph, you look a little bit flustered. Just flown in from Sydney, I believe. Thank you for making the effort to catching us on a Monday night.
Yeah, I have just flown in literally about 15 minutes. I came into this house. It's been a bit of a panic, but I'm so ready to talk about this weekend of sport. What a big weekend of sport we had.
Before we get into this weekend of sport, just tell us about your trip to Sydney, because I believe that we've got a letter in the mail that we need to double your pay to cover the expenses that you racked up over the last couple of days.
Yes, I had a lovely trip. I've got family over in Sydney, so I started my weekend on Friday with a game at the Australian Golf Club, which was just stunning. It's a beautiful course if anyone ever gets a chance to be there. And then it was a girls' trip. And Ben, we did some damage. We saw some shops, but we also saw some restaurants. But thank you for telling everyone about it, and including my partner, Darcy, who's going to be listening to this.
Let's get into some sport. There really was only one sporting event in Australia over the weekend, Soph, and it was the grand final. I know that perhaps between your high-end fashion shopping for horticulture and for your $50 cocktails that you were consuming, you probably saw a bit of the grand final. Just give us your thoughts on what Brisbane got right and what Geelong got wrong.
Yeah, Hookie, of course we went and we actually booked a pub specifically so we could sit down and watch that game. The girls were all around it, and Sydney was going wild, considering that, a lot of Sydney people follow the rugby. They were pretty avid supporters in this whole Brisbane-Geelong game, and the pub, I don't know if you were watching in a pub, but it was incredible scenes, and after a few cocktails, it was even better. So sorry if some of this is not completely accurate. I apologise. You might have to pick up for me a bit here.
So Geelong with a blue and white team, just so you know.
Yeah, we nailed that one. But actually, I don't know if you know this, it was such an exciting game, particularly in that first half, a little bit scrappy. But this is the first time a grand final has been level at halftime since 1909. That is just an incredible stat.
It was. And I have always said to myself, in particular when I've got no skin in the game, Geelong and Brisbane, I don't have a foot in either camp. And I am always just hopeful that the game is still alive at three-quarter time. And 5 minutes to go in the third term, and it was absolutely alive. And then Brisbane they put on 2 or 3 goals in time on of that final, of that third term. And it was probably marginal, but then Brisbane in the first 10 minutes of the final quarter, the way they just turned on the screws, they were so impressive. One thing that stood out to me, Soph, and that was the way the two clubs utilised and embraced the sub-rule. Chris Scott was adamant that the sub-rule has to go, and it probably displayed in how they sort of managed it and kind of snarled at it and rejected it, whereas Brisbane absolutely embraced it. So Lachie Neale, they decided during the week that he would be the substitute, just on the basis of the fact that he had that calf injury. That they were obviously managing a little bit, but he probably had lacked a little bit of conditioning. But that was going to be their plan, that they would unleash Lachie Neale in the second half as the substitute. And then you look at the indecision that Geelong had around their own use of the substitute. Jack Martin was their sub. For much of the third quarter, everyone believed he was going to come on and replace Jeremy Cameron. And then for Brisbane to decide, well, we have a player with a broken arm and another one fully fit, and they took off the fully fit guy to bring on the substitute and leave the guy with the broken arm on the field. Bit of a slap on the face for Reece Stanley, first of all, but clearly the wrong rein to have someone so significantly injured left out there. And I just think Chris Scott made some really poor decisions in the overall scheme of things. Was it the difference between the two teams. Well, it was definitely a lot more than that. But sometimes you've just got to embrace the rules and work with them rather than try and fight against them. And that's what I think they really got wrong.
Yeah, I completely agree. Brisbane bringing on Lachie Neale in that second half, I think, was just an excellent choice. Like you said, if you agree with the rule or you don't, you might as well use it to your advantage where you can and work with the rule when it is in play. And look, their clearances, the Lions' clearances just picked up remarkably in that second half. I think they won the clearance count by 15 in that second half, and I think it made all the difference.
Can I just give you a quick little stat that I worked out from the South Australian link players that were in the game? This just comes straight out of the Sunday Mail and the rankings, so these are done by News Limited. But if you think about the three players with the South Australian link that played for Brisbane, they are Charlie Cameron, Zach Bailey, Lachie Neale. They went 8.5, 8 and 8 out of 10 respectively, 24.5 out of 30. And then for Geelong, there's four of them. So Brad Close is out of the Southeast, Reece Stanley is out of the Riverland, Patrick Dangerfield and Tyson Stengel are former Crows. They went 3.5, 3, 1 and 3 out of 10 respectively, 10.5 out of 40. So the South Australians certainly had a massive influence for one particular team, and maybe partly responsible in why they won. Charlie, Zach, Lachie Neale. Incredible story in its own right. Yeah,
great story there, Hookie. I think you might have mentioned something like this maybe last week, so you're just giving yourself a little pat on the back?
Probably. Yeah, I don't even know what I said last week. So I'll be perfectly honest. I got no idea, but it was probably right. And it was probably good of me just to reiterate it. Talk about someone who knows a lot about something. I want to turn our attention to the Ryder Cup. You are probably, Sophie, the number 2 ranked golf analyst in South Australia. And you're only the number 2 because I'm the number 1. But I do want to touch on the Ryder Cup with you. I know that you're engrossed in it. You're a great student of professional golf. It's been an amazing finish this morning where USA really took the fight back to Europe, who took a 7-point lead into day 3. What did you make of the entire event? And I imagine even you would be surprised that Europe have survived at Bethpage back in the middle of New York.
Yeah, Hookie. I actually told Wallace this before I jumped on, but I'm coming down a little bit sick, and I think it's because I got no sleep for the entire weekend. Not because of partying, just partying, but then I went from partying to then watching the Ryder Cup, and the girls were laughing at me because all they could hear was the sounds of some commentators in the background with a couple of cheers. Look, it was incredible. You're right. The score ended up being 15-13, but I think at the halfway, no, not the halfway mark, but after the Friday and the Saturday sessions, I think the score was sitting 4.5, 11.5 Europe's way. It was huge. There is so much to talk about of the Ryder Cup, and I don't even know. I could talk for an entire episode because I am the number 1 golf analyst in South Australia. But look, I probably didn't see Europe doing it. Luke Donald's captaincy has been incredible. He's gone back to back. He's the only second European captain to do that. It's so hard to win away because the Americans got to choose how the course was set up, and it just makes it so difficult. But to even add to that, I don't know if you got much to hear what the crowd was doing in New York. The fact that Luke Donald could prepare his players for that, it got beyond abusive. There were state troopers walking around. I know Rory McIlroy's wife got a beer thrown at her. It became really personal to the players. And I actually think it's a disgrace of the spectators. And obviously it wasn't the majority. It's always the minority of those spectators. But they weren't supporting their players, but instead rooting against. There is a scene from Rory McIlroy, and he does turn around and tell someone in the audience to shut the F up. And then he did end up then putting it to 2 foot on the golf course. And I bet you that must have felt amazing.
Let's just touch on the crowds because I do think it is significant. We've seen this steady build-up of angst amongst the 2 supporter bases, and I don't think the Europeans are absolutely without fault here, but it has gone absolutely beyond the pale with what we saw at New York. The personal abuse, not just of the players, but of family members was way, way beyond what is acceptable. I think there are a lot of American commentators who have said they're really ashamed of the way their supporters managed it, and I just hope that this becomes a bit of a benchmark that we say, no, we've come too far and we need to wind it back. And there'll be a lot of responsibility on the European supporters when they head to Adair Manor for 2027.
Yeah, 100%. I totally agree, Hookie. But in the end, Hookie, it was an amazing Ryder Cup. It was spectacular to watch. I love this form of the game. I love match play, and it's an individual sport, but I do love it when it becomes a team sport, and this was huge.
It did end up very close in the end, Soph, but we have to probably make the point that the USA shot themselves in the foot with the way they set everything up, in particular around the pairs matches. So foursomes and four balls, they really made some incredible mistakes. They paired Harris English and Colin Morikawa together on the first morning. Both of those guys looked like they were not in any sort of form. They put Scotty Scheffler with Russell Henley in both of the foursome matches on day one and day two. Henley can't hit it out of his own shadow, and he just made it so difficult for Scotty Scheffler when he was playing against the bombers that the Europeans brought out. And I think it was really significant, the fact that on day one, Henley teed off on the first hole, and they flipped that around on day two and arranged for Scotty Scheffler, which was probably the right decision to be teeing off on day two. I thought JJ Spawn, he was picked as number 2. He was ranked number 2 of the Americans over what he'd done for the last year. Won the US Open, was lost the players in a playoff. He didn't play the first morning, and he was arguably their best player, as with Cameron Young, who was an absolute star for them, and they missed that. And they were playing Morikawa, who was apparently, one hand off the club multiple times in the warm-up and put a new putter in the bag for the week. So I think they made so many terrible decisions. Keegan Bradley out of his depth as a manager and was probably going to have to pay the price. They did fight very well on day two and obviously day three, the Americans, but they made so many very, very simple mistakes with the way they structured things up that they're going to have to really overhaul the way they look at how they prepare for these sorts of things in future, because compared to the Europeans, they are just not in the same race.
No, they're not even on the same planet. And I think this is probably the strongest team Europe has produced in a very long time, going to America. And look, I'm Team Europe. I absolutely love them. Rory McIlroy is my favourite player, and I will stand my ground on that forever and always. So, but I think this is the strongest team. I think the two teams coming up against each other neck and neck, it couldn't have been closer. It couldn't have been tighter. And I really do think, like you said, when it came down to the pairings in foursomes and four ball, and I don't think Keegan Bradley at all was adaptive after that first day. I think serious changes needed to be made. Like you said, Russell Henley, why did we even send him back out on day two? Like he wasn't up to scratch. I would have been saving him for singles and putting him probably down the bottom of the order.
Then even in the four ball, in the second day, when you're 5 points behind and you make the decision to play Scotty Scheffler and Bryson DeChambeau together, your two best players, surely when you need points, you've got to segregate them out and hope that they can win 2 points for you rather than win a maximum of 1. And of course, it completely backfired, and they were losers on the day, Justin Rose and Tommy Fleetwood. So just some terrible decisions. And even that flip that I was talking to you about between Russell Henley and Scotty Scheffler, how one teed off on the odds on Friday morning and the other teed off on the odds on Saturday morning, that was decided by the two players' caddies. Of all people who should be making those decisions and the analytics around it, how can the two caddies be coming up with that as a viable proposition? So, yeah, the Americans and the PGA of America, they made a terrible decision with Keegan Bradley, and they've only got themselves to blame as to why the Europeans have retained the trophy. Sophie, we're going to move on because we need to start talking about all the other news that is going on in and around South Australian sport. I've got a challenge for you, though. Each news item that we are going to share with each other, you've got to try and bowl it over in 30 seconds. You've got to tell your full story in half a minute, and I want you to start by telling me inside 30 seconds about all the sassy athletes that are heading to the UCI Track Cycling World Championships.
Well, I like this task, Cookie, but I actually think it's harder for you than it is for me, so I'll happily take that challenge.
You've just used 10 seconds.
Yeah, easy done. Well, look, Australia team has been locked in for the 2025 UCI Track World Championships in Chile, like you mentioned, and it is stacked. with South Australian talent. We have Oliver Bledon, Sophie Edwards, Alex Manley, Maeve Floof, Lee Hoffman, and a special shout out to 3 times junior world champ making his senior debut, Tate Ryan. This event's going to be played between the 22nd and 26th of October, and I'm wishing all our SA talent the best.
Nice job, Soph. I'm going to take you through the South Australians that are in the Aussie Spirit softball team to take on the United States over Christmas. Neve Adams is in the team, a kid from Port Pirie, another one of our country kids. Taylor Chillingworth is in the team, the daughter of Gary Chillingworth, who played first-class cricket for South Australia about 25 years ago. Olivia Elliott in the team, and Madison Scott has also been selected, the daughter of one of Australia's greatest ever baseball players, Andrew Scott. It's the USA Down Under series. We've got another couple of South Australians in the Australian squad. Hayley Benithan, Georgia Hood, Amelia Fidge and Millie Fidge are both in and around it. They're the daughter of legendary Australian and South Australian baseballer Darren Fidge and Pippa Adkins as well. So we are absolutely replete with star South Australian softballers right now. Soph?
Incredible, Ben. Well, I'm taking you all the way back to the rowing, to the water, to the Senior World Championship. We had a historical day for the South Australians on the 25th of September. Now, due to a couple of weather delays, but we had 5 athletes competing for Australia. We had Mitch Reinhardt and Oscar McGuinness in the men's double scull semi-final. They finished 6th place and made the B final. We had Ella Bramley in the women's 8, Angus Dawson in the men's 8, both teams making the A finals. But Sam Stunnell in PR3 mixed double sculls, he went on to secure a bronze in the A final. Incredible, Ben. Just an incredible achievement for those South Australians.
Cracking story. And they're just the guys from the Adelaide Rowing Club as well. There's a couple from the Adelaide Uni Club. So, yeah, we have punched above our weight division in South Australian rowing for a number of years. I want to touch on very quickly a story that's only happened this morning. Australia has won the Netball World Youth Cup. They beat New Zealand in Gibraltar, of all places, where the World Cup was held. We had 4 South Australians in the team. Not only did they take the court, they played all 4 quarters. So Kayla Graham, Sophie Casey, Sophie was the captain of the team, Lucy Voidovich and Tabitha Packer, all of them played all 4 quarters. Kayla Graham went from wing attack to goal attack and at halftime and turned the game. We were 2 up at halftime, 13 up at three-quarter time. Lily Graham, not related to Kayla Graham, Victorian, who was named player of the tournament, but geez, I might argue that Kayla Graham was at least as good as her. So what a time for South Australian netball. 4 of the 7 on-court South Australians leading us to a dominant Netball World Youth Cup victory. Incredible.
Well, Hookie, you know I love talking about my friends on this podcast and getting in as much as my family. So I have a personal shout out to Tim Nielsen, a South Australian wicketkeeper. He's just become an honorary life member of the SACA, Hookie. This is an incredible achievement, very much deserved. Tim has had a profound impact on not just South Australian cricket, but also Australian cricket, coaching the side in 2007 during a period where a lot of Australian greats actually retired, and it was quite a tumultuous reign that he had as coaching. But so a huge congrats to Tim. He's currently still employed as the National Development Lead at Cricket Australia, and he continues to do great things with the sport.
Did he ever play alongside your dad?
I'm actually not sure. I probably should know that stat, Hookie.
My whole first-class career was played with Tim Nielsen as the wicketkeeper in the team. There you go. That's a story.
Incredible. Well, I don't think they actually played together, but I'm happy to be corrected. They did. Dad was chairman of selections at the same time as Tim Nielsen. So I've had much to do with Tim Nielsen, as well as his son, Harry Nielsen, who's the current wicketkeeper at the moment when Alex Gary is not around. So I love the family, and I'm incredibly proud of Tim.
So it was at the Hockey South Australia Awards night on Friday night last week. Mitch Dell of the North East Hockey Club has won his 3rd Association Best and Fairest in 4 years. He's just the 5th person to win this medal 3 times. And the other 4 are absolute hockey royalty. Robert Herbie Haig from Woodville, who had an esteemed career with Australia. Roger Smith from Forestville, similarly so. Trevor Sibic from Port Adelaide, who actually won the medal 7 times, and Stephen Holt from Seacliff. So Mitch Dell in incredible company, winning that medal 3 times. In the women, it's known as the Sandy Pisani medal, named after the great hockey ruse and Olympic gold medalist. It was won by Katie Sharkey, Irish-born kid. Now playing for the Seacliff Hockey Club, and just started to make her way into the hockey ruse about 12 months ago. She's had some injury challenges over the year. She's one of the toughest athletes going around, and she is back with an absolute vengeance. She played 13 of the 14 games in the Premier League competition. In 3 of them, she didn't poll. 1 of them, she got 1 vote, and in the other 9, she was best on field. So from a 13 games, she picked up 28 votes. Do the maths on that. It's about 2.2 per game. She is a star to be reckoned with. Katie Sharkey will keep an eye out for her. That might wrap us up for news. I want to get into Sophie's star.
It was a great effort to try and keep it to 30 seconds, but Sophie, you were spot on. Hooky blew it out of the water. He was over by double time.
Yes.
It's time to see which athletes have been selected this week in Sophie's Star and Ben's Best.
Hooky, Sophie Star, as always, our South Australians were just giving outstanding performances this week. But it's news. It's really fresh news. And I'm going with Rowan Crothers. He's just had an incredible performance at the 2025 World Para Swimming Championships, competed in Singapore recently. He has won 3 gold medals. Now, he's recently joined Sassy, so I reckon we can claim him as one of our own. He's currently training in Adelaide, and he's training with the likes of Matt Temple, an Olympic medalist, and he came down to Adelaide because he thought, you know what, they've got the best athletes down there and I want to be in the pool with them.
Rock on. I tell you what, they've only got to fly in for half an hour, and I think we claim them as our own, don't we, Soph? So, yeah, good on him. Congratulations. That's an amazing feat. Of course, we do have some star-studded Paralympic swimmers here in South Australia, none better than Matthew Cowdery. So if he's half as good as him, he's going to be an incredible story. Great Sophie Star. Let me share with you Ben's Best. And I'm going a little bit left of centre today because I want to talk to you about Gordon Carey, who sadly died from leukemia last week. He's battled the illness for around about 5 years. Gordon, of course, is the father of Australian wicketkeeper Alex Carey. He's also the father of 2 good friends of mine. His other 2 kids are Adam and Ashley, all very good cricketers. In fact, Ashley won a premiership as a wicketkeeper with Ranella last year, young Ash. In women's cricket, of course, as well, I'm talking about. I played some A-grade with Adam. Of course, I played some A-grade with Alex as well. But my time coaching Glenelg actually coincided with Gordon coaching the juniors at the cricket club. I won't bore you with a story about the challenges that Saka made for the Carey family at the time, where they let Adam come and play for Glenelg, let Gordon be the coach of Glenelg, but made Alex stay at Southern District, which was a bizarre decision at the time. But Gordon was the only one who dealt with it in this calm, steadfast, caring manner. He just loved the game. He loved the people who played it. Great family man. We're going to really miss Gordon Carey, and I just wanted to pass on my best wishes to Alex and just say RIP Vale Gordon Carey.
Beautiful choice, Hooky, and as always, condolences to the family. He's left an incredible legacy.
He sure has, Soph. Let's move on to Fair or Farce.
Fair or Farce, Sophie and Ben challenge each other with their sporting conundrums.
Righto, Soph, I'm going to take the new ball here. Move over, Alistair Clarkson. Chris Fagan is the greatest coach in modern AFL history. Fair or farce?
Well, we've just spoken about how many beers and cocktails I was having watching this game, so tough one. Look, I'm going to have to go farce. Probably a bit controversial. Look, Chris Fagan is obviously having an unbelievable run. He's joined Brisbane Lions back in 2016, bringing them from a bottom 8 team to now having been in 3 grand finals in a row and 3-time premiership team. Huge. He's clearly has the respect and love from his team and spectators. I know the girls that I was with on the weekend absolutely love Chris Fagan. And even as non-AFL supporters actually knew his name. So that's incredible, I think, sometimes. But Our Clarkson's coaching career is extraordinary. Let's not forget that Clarkson brought Hawthorn back from the second to bottom of the ladder to four-time premiership team. And during this time, Chris Fagan was actually the general manager and assistant coach of Hawthorn, no doubt learning from Clarkson. Is the student becoming the master? Perhaps. Obviously, perhaps. But at the moment, in my eyes, Clarkson remains the greatest coach of our modern history. But perhaps he was coaching the next best to come.
Sophie, agree. And I think every point you've made is spot on. Similar profile to Fags, took a battling club to a flag in 4 years, but then he won another 3 with a different group, Alistair Clarkson. So, yeah, he's still the number one for me. Quick story about Chris Fagan. He comes from Queenstown in Tasmania. So there's a bit of talk that maybe he'd want to coach the new Tasmanian team. He's adamant that he'll stay at the Brisbane Lions. Queenstown Oval. What surface do you reckon it is, Soph? Grass.
No idea. Grass?
Dirt. It's actually made of gravel. They seriously play football on Queenstown Oval, which is known as the gravel. It's got a gravel playing surface. Built in 1895, it is infamous for its gravel playing surface. That's where he grew up playing footy. How about that?
Imagine your knees. How did you ever learn to tackle? I'd be too scared.
I suspect you learned to keep your feet very well.
Well, look, I'm going to keep on with the AFL, ask you my first question of the night. Saturday proved old musicians are better than old players. Fair or farce?
It's probably fair. I mean, Snoop Dogg, what is he, 53? But I thought he was pretty impressive. He certainly fired a lot more bullets than the oldies playing for Geelong did. What was it? I'll go through the 30-year-olds, and I reckon I've got this right. Reece Stanley, Jack Martin, Patrick Dangerfield, Mark Blixarves, all had absolutely zero influence in that game on the weekend, whereas Snoop, love him or hate him, love or hate rap, and I'm not a big lover or fan of rap. I thought he was magnificent. What did you think of Snoop?
What do you mean? I reckon I could see you breaking down some moves to some rap. I could see it. I can picture it. No, look, Snoop Dogg, like we actually spoke about a while back now, Snoop Dogg is completely my era, and I do love Snoop Dogg. So I thought his performance was unbelievable. Like we said, he was probably a controversial pick, though. He was definitely controversial. But God, you're a turncoat, Hookie. Last week, all you could talk about was how good Patrick Dangerfield was. How could SA let him go? Oh, my God. Here's one bad game. It's a grand final, I'll admit. One bad game, and you're going, get rid of all old players. Get rid of them. They're not good.
Sacked a lot of them. Talking about sacking the lot, here's my next question for you, and we've probably already touched on it, but I want to let you just unleash here. The American Ryder Cup defeat is all on Keegan Bradley. Fair or farce?
Oh, that's a loaded question, and you know I could talk about this for days, so I'm going to try and keep it short. Probably not 30 seconds short, but short. Look, I'm going fair. Do I think Keegan Bradley should have ever been in that position to be coach? Absolutely not. He's still a current player. This was really meant to be a Phil Mickelson or Tiger Woods position, and I do agree with that. But he could have turned it down. He chose to take on that role. I'm sorry. If you put your foot in it, then you have to actually come prepared, come to take that role. I think personally his first mistake in all of this was even having his name around a potential team selection. He should have taken his name completely off the cards, come to press, said, I'm not going to be playing this Ryder Cup. And we wouldn't have had to deal with months and months of working out whether or not Keegan Bradley, players thinking, well, could I be selected? Or is Keegan Bradley playing so well at the moment? Is he going to be in the team? So full stop. First mistake. Now, PGA of America choose to pay their players, okay? Pay them. That's huge. Ryder Cup players don't normally get paid. Team Europe definitely doesn't get paid. And I know they probably don't have the pull to be able to pay their players, but they're there for spirit. They're there for the team. He gets asked about it in a press conference, and it's like he's surprised that they're asking about it. Okay, I'm sorry. Come prepared. I think he was so ill-prepared for this Ryder Cup. We then turn to course setup, like you spoke about. Captain has the biggest influence about it, and all we can talk about is how the course setup wasn't correct. He takes hold and he does say, look, probably on me. And I do think it was on him. Sorry. Yeah, it was. And then we go to who he chose as his vice captains. He only has one-time experience in the Ryder Cup. Choose some better vice captains that have the respect of your team. I'm sorry. You don't have the experience. Lean on the people who do. And then, look, I was listening to Luke Donald's press conference at the end of this. I'm sorry, Hookie. This is nowhere near 30 seconds. Luke Donald has spent 2 years working on this Ryder Cup. In fact, I think he was thinking about it before Marco Simone, regardless of the result. He knew Bethpage Black was coming up. He knew he was going to be there. He even looked at getting their practice uniforms for the Ryder Cup to be what the uniforms looked like when they had won away. He was installing that already. He was giving their legacy, giving their honour straight away, getting the respect of his team and saying, this isn't impossible. It's been done before. Look at what you're wearing. You can go back and look at old YouTube clips and see this. He was changing bed linen so that they were sleeping properly. It is incredible what Luke Donald does. And Keegan Bradley had all the time in the world as well to be able to do exactly the same thing, and he chose not to. It's an active choice. So, yes, I do think it's on him in the end. What do you have to say?
I have nothing to say. And Wallace, I'm handing over my personally given title to myself as the number one analyst in golf. Sophie, that was an incredible monologue and just identified pretty much every problem they had. Thank you so much for sharing that with us. I really enjoyed listening to every word of it, and I'm not going to argue with you at all. Go ahead, your turn.
Oh, incredible. I don't think I need to be in front of Keegan Bradley anytime soon. Not that I would ever be in front of Keegan Bradley, but you never know. Might have some stern words.
Don't expect he's taking you out for any of those $50 cocktails you were drinking last weekend.
I don't think he's anywhere near me with some cocktails. He doesn't want the heat. Look, I'm going to go straight back to golf as well. Match play is better than stroke play. Fair or farce?
Oh, match play is better than stroke play. I reckon you will think that this is fair, and I think it's actually probably farce. I mean, only the romantics think that match play is better than stroke play. Stroke play rules the world, for goodness sake. I mean, if that wasn't the case, then we'd have 4 match play majors, but all of them are 72-hole individual stroke play. Teams events, match play. Yeah, I can see how it works. But day in, day out, give me stroke play, individual, any day of the week. That's how modern golf is played. Soph, what do you think?
Look, you know me, I love match play. I love team sport. So I love the pennant season in South Australia. I think it's an incredible game. And I am going fair. Look, stroke rounds, yes, I think you get the best golfer for the tournament, and I don't think you'd ever want to change majors from being a stroke round. You do produce the best golfer, the person who has the longevity. There's such a beauty in stroke play. And look, it's probably my favorite to watch, but I am a golf enthusiast. Like, I love golf. I love analyzing why they're going for pins, why they're not going for pins. But match play is incredible to watch. It makes people take pins on where they wouldn't normally take pins on. You see more chip-ins, more hole-outs. You see everything, and you saw it today. And I have to look at an average golfer. Match play is everywhere. It's everywhere. It's money matches. It's skins. I think for an average golfer watching match play, they can actually relate to it a little bit more. People can't shoot 59. That's just not normal. But everyone can take on a mate, and they can have that experience of what it's like to win against a mate when they drain a 10-foot putt. And there's something about watching match play when that happens and the beauty to it. So I actually do think bet is tough, but I think I have to go for it. I love it. I love watching it.
There are some psychopathic tendencies here, Soph. You're just telling me that you love nothing more than seeing a direct opponent lying with blood covered all over them on the 18th green, just as you've absolutely taken a knife to them, stabbed them in 47 different places as you just stake your claim as a victor in the most cruel way possible. That just seems to be what this is all about. Would that be fair?
100%, but it's more like a 40-footer, not a 10-footer. That's where I really like doing it.
So brilliant. Thank you so much. I'm putting the power rankings on hold for a couple of weeks until we start to get the summer sports up and running. But we do have a special episode that is going to drop later in the week. Tell us a little bit about Eddie the Frenchman.
Oh, just an incredible guy. Bit crazy, I want to say, but incredible to listen to. He is running an ultra marathon. I can't wait to hear from him. I can't wait to our listeners to hear from that interview. Ben, you couldn't even do a marathon properly. Like, this is like 4,000 Ks. We had to listen to you for weeks.
Yeah, we have had the chat with Eddie. It will drop later in the week. He is going to run from Cottesloe in Perth to Bondi in Sydney. He'll be doing that in August next year. He takes us through all of his preparation, all of the amazing things he has done in the lead up. We're going to put up a photo, won't we, Wallace, in the next day or two about the run that he did where he covered every single street in the CBD of Adelaide, every cul-de-sac, every lane, every road, every street, every avenue. It is quite the Strava picture. So I'm looking forward to everyone seeing that, but I really would love everyone to catch up with our podcast, our chat that we have with Eddie Chigik, Eddie the Frenchman, because he is a wonderful conversation doing just mind-numbing things and running across Australia. Well, yeah, I tell you what, he's going to be doing 2.5 marathons a day for 38 days. I had trouble with one marathon in 6 months. Thank you.
Yep, you definitely did. And look, I had so much fun at Bondi. Maybe I'll go back to Bondi, have a few cocktails and watch him run in.
Just toast him as he makes his way across that finish line.
The girls might get around it too.
Oh, brilliant. Guys, have a great week.
Good chat.
You too, guys.
That stumps on another episode of Hooked on Sport. We appreciate you listening and trust you enjoyed the show. Help us reach more sports-minded people just like you by following us and leaving a review. We look forward to your company next week on Hooked on Sport.
If you're enjoying this podcast, I'd encourage you to take a listen to Beyond the Club. It's a project I've been working on with Flinders University. Now I co-host it with Professor Sam Elliott, and we break down all the latest research on how to maximise the experience of junior and club athletes. There's a range of resources, special guests, and cutting-edge info on how you can make your club a safer, happier place for your kids and their club mates. Beyond the Club, wherever you get your podcasts.